Hello and welcome to video 3 of Watercolor Tell All. Okay, so we've put in selections and I've put in two more selections, these two little rectangles here just for an area to play on. You'll see as we go. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is talk about how you make watercolor stay in one spot and not move outside of the marquee. You know, when you paint, all paint stays within inside the little dotted lines, but watercolor can actually run out, so you don't get a crisp edge. But you can get a crisp edge if you work with the texture. So if we go back to the texture we were working on before, which is the Sanders Waterford knot, and over here is a reset paper default. This is a script I have that resets the paper to the default settings. So I just click on that to make sure it's there. And I'm using grainy pretty wash because it's a relatively runny brush. And so we'll put that here. And I'm putting it on just heavy for effect. Now, notice how it bled out around the lines, okay? I'm going to go back to this paper. I'm going to take the scale all the way down, bring the contrast up, and take the brightness down to about 15%. Actually, I can go a little more than that. We'll go about 10 or 11%. Okay, now that we've done that, let's do the same thing with this. Ta-da! It did move about the same amount. So this paper is pretty open for this, and it's going to be hard to find a setting that will work for this. If I take the brightness all the way down, let's see, I think it may be that I've got the brightness down too low. Yeah, that's not showing much. I tell you what, instead of fiddling with the paper, let's go up here and go to basic paper. Hit reset. And here we go. I'm going to put down with just basic paper. And there you've got your run. Now I'm going to go here and bring this down there, bring this up, bring this down to about 30, I think. It would change. You just have to play with these. And we do the same texture. And see, there you go. Now it stopped. It's not going to flow or move. So if I wanted to paint inside of this line with this brush, oops, first thing I have to do is get rid of my selection. All right, so if I wanted to paint inside this line with this brush and not let it, let's redo that. We're going to put on pause diffusion, which stops the watercolor from diffusing. So now I'm going to go right around this line. It means that I can pick my brush up and keep making selections or brush strokes. Okay, so I'm trying to be very careful here. And then I want to close it all up. And I've done it with a heavy hand just so I can get what I need to do. Now I'm going to take the pause diffusion and turn it off. And there you go. See, it stays within the line. Take that paper back down to its default setting and do the same thing again. Whoops, let's pause the diffusion so I can paint and pick my brush up. Okay, now you'll see that I've gone over the lines a bit. at the top. Okay, and I want to make sure the paper is back to its default setting. And then I'm going to release the post-diffusion. And there you go. See the difference? It really makes a huge difference if you play with watercolor. If you want it to stay in a certain spot, play with the paper to make it really tight so the watercolor can't run. It's almost like making drying the paper, and you're working on dry paper when you've done what I've showed you here. Okay, so just as a repeat, we came in this time and we've started to work with the brushes, but we're talking about tips with watercolor. And so in this case, I'm telling you that watercolor will run outside of a selection. If you tighten the paper, you can get it to stay within the selected area. But also, you can dry the watercolor paper and make it not move from the area. But drawing watercolor brushes, I don't think give you the best work at that point. Okay, so recap of where we are. We have done selections. We've played with the first brush and talked about the first tip of using watercolor. All right, talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.